Okay, I wanted to go over with you on the 2023 property taxes in each state in the U.S., giving you the highest, lowest, and did a comparison against St. Kitts just to give you an idea. If you've got multiple properties and you're looking to try to save on property taxes, income taxes, you really should be studying this. Hawaii had the lowest property tax at 0.29% of the property. St. Kitts, by comparison, is 0.20%. And remember, St. Kitts has an exclusion before you even kick in that 0.20%. That's $29,600 US. So if your property, if you get a property that's $29,600 US in St. Kitts, you won't pay any property tax at all. Okay, so they have an exclusion before that 0.20% kicks in. Hawaii is 0.29%. Okay, now that's the lowest. Okay, I'm giving you the very, very lowest. Now, you end up paying a lot though in Hawaii though, because although the effective tax rate is 0.29%, the median home value is one of the highest in the U.S. at $662,100 US. So the median property taxes paid was $1,893 US. Now the median income per household was one of the highest in Hawaii at $88,005 US. Also, folks, if you want to legally get around high income taxes, how to get a second passport as quick as 45 days, do three things. Hit the subscribe button, the right of your screen right here, and you get new videos automatically as they come out. And number two is I would like to hear from you. If you got a question or comment, put it below. And number three is go to our website, www.citizenshipquickly.com, and just ask for some help. All right, I'm going to give you the top 10 here just to give you an idea how that's figured. Alabama, these were the 10 lowest that I'm going to give you here. Alabama was 0.41%. Colorado was 0.51%. Nevada was 0.55%. Puerto Rico was 0.55%. But actually, Puerto Rico had the lowest as far as dollar figure because the median household on the house was only $111,800. So the average tax paid there was $617 US a year. And of course, the income in Puerto Rico is very, very low too. The average household is only $21,967 US. And then, of course, Louisiana is 0.56%. You got South Carolina is 0.56%. Washington, D.C. is 0.57%. Delaware is 0.58%. Utah is 0.58%. West Virginia is 0.59%. Now, I'm going to go over and tell you the most expensive ones. And what you're going to find out, folks, is you can end up paying a lot more in property tax than you do in a state income tax, because remember, the property tax is figured on your actual, it's not the equity that you got in your home, it's the amount of whatever your home price is worth, okay? Of whatever you paid for. Now, that's typically how most of the states go on, is what you paid for the property. But you only might have 10 or 20% in the property. But the house, it's not paid off. So you're paying that percentage on the total amount of your house. So although that percentage looks low, your dollar amount could be very high. In fact, in a lot of cases, in a lot of states, if you've got several properties, you can end up paying a lot more in property taxes than you do in a state income tax. Of course, if you got both of them, you really get screwed. I'll tell you a good example. Texas is a good example. Texas has got just under a 2% property tax, but it doesn't have a state income tax. But you might be better off staying where you're at instead of going to Texas if you got multiple properties. Hey, why don't you just get rid of both of them? Get rid of almost all your property tax and get rid of all your state income tax, along with your federal tax. Come to St. Kitts. Okay, that's the easy remedy to do it. Now, obviously, if you're a U.S. citizen, you're going to have to, qualify for the foreign overseas exclusion. You can reduce your taxes that way, or relinquish your U.S. citizenship is the best way to do it. You're Canadian, you're going to have to break your tax ties from there and pay, in a lot of cases, and depending on the country, maybe even an exit tax. Now, they were talking about here that New Jersey, of course, is the state with the highest property taxes in the U.S. at 2.47%. Listen to this. St. Kitts has got a 0.20%. New Jersey's got 0.247%. 2.47%. Now, considering the varying tax rates across the U.S., they went on to explain here a lot more detail on how this is actually tabulated. And considering the varying tax rates across the U.S. now, a U.S. homeowner is relocating from a state with low property taxes to one that charges high levies may be confronted with an unexpected financial cost. Now, however, it's important to keep in mind that high property taxes do not automatically mean that other taxes such as sales, income, and fuel taxes will also be high. Now, let's look at the states with, I'm going to give you the 10 with the worst property tax rates. New Jersey was the worst at 2.47%. Illinois was second at 2.23%. Connecticut was third at 2.15%. New Hampshire was next with 2.09%. Vermont was next at 1.90%. Texas was at 1.74%. Remember, Texas doesn't have a state income tax, but again, that 1.74% can end up making you pay a lot more in a state income tax just for the fact if you have a lot of properties in Texas, that 1.74% could end up paying, you could end up paying a lot of money, and in some cases maybe even more than an income tax. Okay, now New York was next at 1.73%. Wisconsin was 1.73%, Nebraska at 1.67%, Iowa at 1.57%, Ohio at 1.53%, Pennsylvania at 1.53%, and Rhode Island at 1.53%. Now, let's look at New Jersey's effective tax rate on the property tax. Again, it's 2.47%, but the median home value is $355,700 US. Now, this is the point I want to make. Listen to this. The median real estate taxes, and this is the property taxes for the median household in New Jersey is $8,797 a year. Now, remember, the median household income in New Jersey is $89,703. So your property tax is almost 10% of what your actual income is. Okay? So let's look at a lot of states in the U.S. Most states in the U.S. don't have a 10% state income tax. So you're paying more in a property tax. And we're not talking about multiple properties. I'm talking about a median household income, and we're taking the median real estate taxes paid on median home value, which is $355,700 US. You're going to be paying, in most cases, off that one house more than what most states charge in an income tax. Okay, because most states in the U.S. don't have a 10% state income tax. And this is the point I'm trying to make to you, is the fact that you, in a lot of cases, when you think you're going to a place like Texas that doesn't have a state income tax, you can end up getting slammed and bammed even more on their property tax. Again, why don't you just avoid both of them? Get around the property tax, or close to all the property taxes, and get around all state income taxes and all federal taxes by moving to St. Kitts. Okay? Now again, you're going to have to do some things, maybe relinquish your U.S. citizenship or move. You're going to have to be outside of the U.S. long enough to qualify for the overseas tax exclusion. But man, if you've got a lot of properties, we've got people coming down here that are buying up just tons of properties, multiple properties, and what they're doing is they're going from places that have high state income taxes in the U.S., they're coming down here and paying close to zero. Okay? Remember, the state income tax, not state income taxes, but the income taxes on rental income in St. Kitts, zero. And there are ways that you can convert earned income into, or investment income into earned income if you manage the properties here. I have to sit down and show you how that works. But you'd be better off in a lot of cases if you own tons of properties in high tax states in the U.S. Sell the properties, get the money out, okay, where there's almost no property taxes and no income taxes, and come to a place like St. Kitts and buy your properties here. You're also not affected by all the stuff that's going on with the banks, with all the interest rates that are going up and these banks that are going bankrupt and people not want to buy new properties because why would they want to cancel their existing mortgage because it's a real low interest rate and then go with another higher one. So people are just staying put. Down here in St. Kitts, we don't have that problem because most people pay cash for their properties, okay? So you don't have this issue with interest rates, going up and people, stagnating and not buying properties, okay? But this is the key point I'm trying to make. You can end up paying so much more in property taxes than a state income tax, and in some cases, maybe even a federal income tax, okay? So these are some things that you got to look at. Just to give you an example, in Illinois, the median real estate taxes paid there is $4,744 a year. That's on one property, folks, one property. If you've got 10 or 15 properties, 20 properties, 100 properties in Illinois, can you see what kind of tax bill you're paying on this? You can get this to zero, but you got to make the move to do this. Okay? Now, I'm going to tell you something too. Taking these depreciations, all you're doing is creating a huge tax bomb. I got a guy I was just talking to yesterday. He just sold a bunch of multiple properties. He's going to do a 1031 exchange. The 1031 didn't work out for a lot of reasons. You got to remember when you do 1031 exchanges, to most people, when you do 1031 exchanges, the guy that you're doing the 1031 exchange with, he's going to want a good deal just like you, okay? So he's basically, in most cases, both parties are going to be paying an inflated price because both parties doing it are going to want top-notch prices for their house. So you're not going to get anywhere close to a good deal when you do a 1031 exchange, okay? Because both of them are they're trying to avoid the tax and they want top-notch prices for the property. It's very difficult to get a 1031 exchange put together to begin with. And a lot of times you might have to go out of state to get it. And then it's another inconvenience. And all you're doing, folks, again, is you're deferring the tax. Why not make it tax-free, okay? And you're also not getting rid of your property tax. In St. Kitts, you can get your property tax almost down to zero, okay? This is the big key I'm trying to point out to you. But the biggest key that you want to try to get around is all taxes, not just property taxes, but state income taxes and federal income taxes also. Connecticut, to give you an example, median real estate taxes paid there were $6,153 US. And the median household income there is $83,572. You take $6,153 and divide $83,572 to get your property tax yield of what your actual income is. It's pretty high. You're looking at it's not 10%, but it's around. Anyway, you do the figures. It's high. It's going to be higher than most states. I'm just trying to do this in my head. It's going to be higher than most states are going to charge in a state income tax. Okay, and we're talking about just one property, folks. We're not talking about if you got multiple properties. Okay, and back to this guy here I was just telling you about. He sold a bunch of these properties. He had, I forgot how many properties he sold, but what happened was when he sold them, the 1031 exchange fell through, by the way, and he ended up having about a $500,000 tax bill. What happened was all this depreciation that built up over the years, that's added up to your gains on the property from what you bought it for, what you paid it for with that depreciation. All it does is, you use this depreciation, all you're doing is creating a huge tax bomb down the road. Now this guy's he's got about a $500,000 tax bill, okay? Why don't you just try to, instead of trying to get around these deferrals and eventually someday paying a huge tax bill, why don't you do just like I told you, go to places that don't have a state income tax, okay? Don't have a federal tax, have almost no property tax, no capital gains tax, and no estate inheritance tax. Folks, come to St. Kitts. This is what's going to solve your problem. We've got tons of people that are coming from all over the world that are buying multiple properties in St. Kitts to solve the problems I'm just trying to show you here. If you want to know more on this, go to our website, www.citizenshipquickly.com, and just ask for some help. And don't forget, hit the subscribe button to the right of your screen right here. You get new videos automatically. And I would like to hear from you. If you got a question or comment, put it below. And I look forward to talking to you in the next video. Take care.